JoJo, what's up?
It is a good thing because January is officially gone. So thank
Yes.
the Lord above.
Look, January is always tough because it's, right after the holidays and it gets cold and gets gloomy. But February is the shortest month of the year, and it's leap year, so we get the extra day. And, that just means we're one step closer to spring.
We are.
So I got Valentine's Day coming up. So the Hallmark Company is going to love that.
We
And,
got Galentine's Day, me, you, and Music City Bets. Don't
that's
forget
right.
that.
That's right.
On the 13th.
I think it's your year to bring the champagne.
It is. It is.
Okay.
I look forward to a nice dinner celebrating with my girls.
Yes, it'll be a good time for sure.
Got your candies already, Big Joe?
We're good to go, man.
Yeah. Dr. Crane, you should come this year. Be a good time.
Oh, boy.
He's like, I got to wash my hair.
He's probably got to power wash the windows that night. So he won't be.
We got a big one planned. Greg Wyshynski going to rejoin us after a few weeks off of paternity leave. So he'll rejoin us today at 9:30 as the NHL gets ready for the All-Star break. Predators were in action last night and unfortunately needed this one, came up short 4-2 against the LA Kings. So we'll talk to him about that. At 10:30 today, though, Joe,
Yeah.
I am so excited about this. NXT Vengeance Day is coming to Clarksville at F&M Bank Arena, and the gentleman that basically runs NXT is WWE two-time Hall of Famer, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. He's going to join the show at 10:30, so really looking forward to that chat with HBK.
That'll be good. I got a lot of questions for him, so I'm ready to go for this.
Yeah, so it'll be
I've been
fun.
Googling all morning.
I know you have. You've been doing your show prep.
Right, thank you.
For that. But the news came out late last night. Tehran was on this. So congratulations to Tehran, who's down in the Senior Bowl. But the Titans will be hiring Baltimore Ravens defensive back coach Denard Wilson to be their defensive coordinator. That will be the first assistant that we know of hired by new head coach Brian Callahan, who was actually at the Predators game last night with Vanderbilt football coach Clark Lee.
Oh, no.
Why oh no?
I just don't know. I just don't know. Just follow me on this. I don't know.
No. I know. It is fine. Clark's a good man.
Clark's a great guy. Okay. Anyway, yeah, they have a good time.
I guess so. Yeah, I didn't talk to him. Brian had his Preds jersey on, so that was cool.
Nice. Probably got in the pro shop down there and
Yeah,
got it custom made for him. So really cool.
yeah. Or they may have just given him one. That's probably what I would have done. So.
Right.
But anyway, Denard Wilson. So interesting. I was looking this up. If I have this right, I'm pretty sure he coached with Jeff Fisher with the Rams.
Look, man, all these new young hot coaches somehow, some way are tied to Fisher. It's crazy. And these GMs, they're all part of the Rams staff at some point while Fisher was there. Not in Nashville, but with the Rams, and he was a part of the staff there with Jeff Fisher when they were in St. Louis before they moved to Los Angeles.
Yeah, Jeff is actually going to join us in studio Tuesday at 10:30, so we'll ask him about a lot of things, including the Nashville Cats, but Denard Wilson specifically too. But look, he's been in the league for a while as a coach since 2012 when he started with the Rams. Most recently, this year with the Ravens as the DB's coach. He was with the Eagles the last couple of years with a couple of different roles, DB's coach, passing game coordinator. So I would say looking at his resume, he's ready for this. I have a little bit of a concern in having a rookie head coach and then a rookie coordinator, especially on the defensive side of the ball. My thought process was find an established defensive coordinator, former head coach maybe, to kind of be that on that side of the defense. But look, we got to see how this works. We really have no idea how any of this is going to work. But Brian Callahan reportedly has his man to run the defense. What do you think?
I think it's a great hire. I think I was watching a video last night of him, and he was breaking down cover 4 and covering the slot receiver with the outside linebacker. It was just fascinating, his knowledge of football. And you see that he comes, well-respected. A lot of Eagles fans were upset because they wanted him to be the defensive coordinator in Philadelphia. they were not happy with Nick Sirianni, whatever his name is, not hiring this guy to be their DC. And I was like, oh, okay, oh, well. I mean, it's, when a fan base unites over something like that, then they really want this guy. And I don't know why they didn't take him. So now he's here in Nashville. And, I see he likes the blitz and things like that. But that's great. But if you don't have the players to do that, you're going to get burned. So you got to go out and find the guys that fit your defense instead of having your defense fit what you have. That's going to be kind of the challenge for him right now.
Yeah. And look, I think it's gonna take time, and that's what everybody needs to understand. Just because you fire the coach and bring in a new head coach, and you give, think of it a sneeze. Hang on, you give Rand the keys to the car. It doesn't mean it's going to fix itself overnight.
No,
so you have to give him time.
What I like about it is that he went to one of the best athletic high schools in America. He went to DeMatha Catholic outside of Baltimore. And just the list, basketball players, he grew up and he went to high school with a lot of influential and powerful and wonderful, great athletes at that school. Look in basketball in that school. Danny Ferry, Adrian Branch, Derek Wittenberg, Mike Bray. These guys won championships. Sidney Lowe. It was just crazy. So, a lot of it started probably back when Victor Oladipo went there. So, what a great lineage from the high school to college and now to where he is. So, hopefully he comes in there. And I you know how I am, Chase. You know this. I like coaches who bring the heat. I would,
sure.
That's why, after Lamar Jackson on Sunday, they went after him. Don't sit back and let him beat. Go after him. So hopefully he comes in there and he has that mindset and gets the right guys in there where it's just constant Buddy Ryan pressure on a quarterback.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And that's what I loved about Dean Pease. So, and you asked me what my obsession was with Wink Martindale. Well, that was the same reason. He was a guy that was going to bring the heat just about every play. So, we'll see. Denard Wilson. Paul Kuharsky, paulkuharsky.com put this out this morning, recapping the Titans assistant coaches from Vrabel staff that are gone. And I have a point I want to make with this. So OC Tim Kelly, passing game coordinator, quarterbacks coach Charles London, wide receivers coach Rob Moore goes to Carolina. So that's been done. Tony Dews, with a lot of Vrabel's 2022 coaching staff, goes to the Jets to coach running backs. Jason Hotaling, the offensive line coach, and a report out this morning that he's joining the Bears. Passing game analyst Pat O'Hara, and then assistant head coach, defensive line coach Terrell Williams, who's coaching the Senior Bowl. Report has come out. He's going to join Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions. Offensive linebacker, outside linebackers coach Ryan Crow, inside linebackers Bobby King, special teams Tom Quinn, assistant linebacker Zach Kerr, and then Vrabel's right-hand man, director of football administration John Streicher. So they are all gone. Why does this really surprise anybody? Like, you got a new head coach.
Who's surprised by this?
I see a few people on Twitter that are like, and I thought Charles London maybe had a chance to stay because he was only here a year, but he still had Vrabel connections. But sometimes you find a guy that, especially with a young quarterback, okay, he's got a good relationship, we'll hang on to this guy. But you made the decision to move on from Vrabel. Unfortunately, what comes with that is when you make that decision, you also make the decision to move on from the assistants. Now, Terrell Williams, if they had kept Terrell Williams, I'd have been a fan of that. But they're not. It's Brian Callahan wants to do things his way. Rand Carthon wants to do things his way. They're going to work together on that, and they're going to bring in their people. So I think you have to trust this process. And the other thing, too, is I kind of keep up with assistants because this is what we do. But does the average fan really know every assistant on a coaching staff?
Zero. They know the coordinators, and if there is one guy that's a Hall of Famer, like when Russ Grimm coached with Malarkey, the offensive line, I'm like, that's Russ Grimm. He's with the Hogs and the Redskins and I know that. But You could ask 100 people at the mall, hey, what happened to Ryan Crowell or Bobby King? I don't know. Who is that? They don't know. They don't care. And good for Brian Callahan. It's your staff. Bring in who you want. These coaches all know what happens. And if they're shocked they got fired, then they should not be in the – I hate it. I mean, because there's families involved, but that's the nature of the business. So they're gone, and they're landing on their feet, and good for them.
Well, most of them are already landing on their feet. You know, I mean, that's the good part, I guess. You know, and like, again, we just got a text saying, you know, Terrell Williams is the one that I hated to lose. He was the best assistant coach on the team. And I would agree with that. I mean, he's been around a long time. I mean, he was so good that Vrabel let him coach a preseason game. But, you know, again, when you get hired, when you get interviewed as a head coach, you got a list. Everybody's got a list.
Yeah, that's right.
Of like, so how do you envision your defense? Well, you know, here's what I want to do. Now, Denard Wilson has connections to Rand Carthon from their time together with the Rams, so my guess is he was on Rand's list. And you know, I want to see how that works out too. I'm a little, I don't know if concerned, but, you know, curious, because the head coach in my mind should be the one hiring the staff, because you got to work with the staff. But it has been typical early on, especially with a rookie head coach, that the GM and other members of the front office do have a say in the staff, and that was what Amy Adams Strunk laid out with Rand Carthon. Some of these guys that come in here that maybe are Rand guys, you know, Brian Callahan may go, hey, this chemistry's not there, not working, and then you make changes. But, you know, I mean, how many times do you see changes to a staff after a couple of years once a coach establishes himself? It happens all the time.
It happens all the time. I can tell you how many since they've shown up here in 99. I mean, there was a little continuity with Jeff Fisher's staff for a while, but then, you know, once that kind of wears out, like 08, 09, 010, guys get other jobs and move on. They get promoted, and then they come and go. I mean, so our assistant coaches left and right. I mean, it's like, you remember Chris Palmer?
Oh, yeah.
Remember Dow Loggins? I mean, it's just these guys that just run through. I mean, it's the nature of the business of football. So it all falls.
Chris Palmer was one of the worst offensive coordinators.
Did he not get fired on his birthday?
I think he did, yeah. Munch fired him and then put Dow Loggins in.
Munchak was like, hey, Chris, happy birthday. I got you a gift. It's in your top drawer. Oh, and there's something else in there, too. Take care. And then I think that's how he got fired. I think he got fired on his birthday.
Yeah. I don't know, but I mean, he was pretty bad.
And then they got Dow Loggins. The only thing with Dow Loggins, they forgot to give him a stepladder. And once they got him the stepladder, he was good to go. And then
Kenny Loggins, is that his cousin, right?
It is.
That's I thought. Dr. Craig.
Weighing in from the on deck circle. I mean, it's good, and hope he comes in here and he puts lights fire into these guys, and they get going and attack. To me, that's how you don't sit back now in defense in this, you know, quote unquote new offensive world, which is the same one it was 30 years ago. It just gets a different name. And just go after guys and don't let them beat you. I hope that's his philosophy as well. And it seems like that is. He likes to attack. And if you got that, you plug the players in, and who knows what could happen, man.
615-737-1025. That's our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You can weigh in. What do you think about the first addition unofficially to the Titans coaching staff under Brian Callahan? Denard Wilson reportedly going to be the defensive coordinator. 615-737-1025. We'll continue this discussion. Coming up next, Greg Wyshynski, bottom of the hour, chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Broadcasting from the Spring Hill Heating and Cooling Game Nashville studios, keeping your home feeling comfortable all year round. Chasing Big Joe, brought to you by Regal Realty Group, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Nice.
Is this Love Boat?
It is. I always think about my grandparents because I would have to. They babysat me quite a bit. My grandmother loved three things in life. She loved Love Boat, she loved Jimmy Carter, and she loved her no-filter cigarettes. And you had to. And so during Love Boat, you had to shut your mouth. And so, thanks, Dr. Crane, taking me back.
Was she like Patty and Selma with MacGyver?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yep. And it's a wonder I didn't get lung cancer growing up because how many cigarettes she smoked, and she was mean as a damn snake too. Couldn't care less about me, which was great because, that's a grandma, man. We're just get out of her way, man. All right, Chase. On this day, Sports Day, 1992. This made me laugh. All right. Barry Bonds signed the highest single-year contract in Major League Baseball history. This day, 1992. Tell me what Barry Bonds' one-year contract was.
Oh, geez. $20 million?
You get another guess.
Higher or lower?
You get another guess.
Oh, come on. Well, I'm trying to think. 92. I'm going to say $15 million.
$4.7 million with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Now, granted, 32 years ago, I get that. If you go back the other way, you go back to 1960, it was probably Mickey Mantle signed a contract worth about $90,000 or something like that. But I just thought that was fun. This day, February the 1st, Barry Bonds signs a $4.7 million contract.
All right, I'm gonna look at something real quick. The inflation calculator. So you said that was 1992?
Yes, sir.
And then obviously now it's.
Gonna ballpark the inflation for you, Chase. I'm gonna say roughly $24 million. I'm just gonna ballpark the number off the top.
You said it was 4.2 million.
Yes, sir. No, 4.7.
All right. Let's see.
Joe, if I'm right, you gotta go buy me a lollipop and a little bit of some mac and cheese.
That would be worth $10.2 million.
Wow.
In 2024.
I was way off.
Dr. Crane, you private school education, too. You're way off.
This is according to the U.S. inflation calculator.
Oh, nice.
So.
Oh, that's good. Also on this day, they had the NFL draft was held on this day in 1972. Do you know that? Can you imagine the draft, how it's evolved so much? It was held on this day, 1972.
And you know what? If they went back to that, I mean, wait till after the Super Bowl, but like the NFL is the only sport that does not do their draft like right after the championship. Well, I take that back. The baseball does it in the middle of the season, but like the NBA, the NHL, the NHL does it like late June. Stanley Cup's in early June. The NBA, it's like right after the finals. I know why the NFL doesn't do it because they just want to own the year, 365 days, and so they make it a big to-do. But, like, I would almost be fine if they did the combine in late February if they did the draft in early March.
Yeah, well, they're not going to because they can get you watching the whole time.
Right.
The draft,
it's gotten later and later. Like, it used to be April, now it's May.
Yeah, the draft, though, it's late April. Yeah, the draft, yeah. Walt Patulski from the University of Notre Dame, first pick by the Buffalo Bills. And, so 1972. I think, can you imagine having the draft just like a week after the Super Bowl? I mean, so they got you, hemmed in all year long. Free agency in March, draft in April, mini camps, May and June. June, they cut a lot of players too. And so they figured out a way to keep it going. I thought it'd be like, oh God, they're oversaturated, but it's nothing like that because people crave it, and rightfully so, and the ratings reflect all that. Also, Chase, on this day, real quick, 2004, the famous wardrobe malfunction at the Super Bowl.
Janet Jackson.
Yep.
Justin Timberlake.
You were just. I hope your parents shielded your eyes. You were just a baby back then.
Yeah. I don't think my mom realized. Well, I don't think any of us realized what exactly happened until it was too late.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, wait, is that
No, what's going on here?
Yeah. So, and didn't like a bunch of the CBS affiliates get fined?
They did. That is correct. Because I think you have a year to file a report with the SEC, so a lot of people waited a long time, and the ruling came down. I don't know if they had to end up paying or not, but they were fined.
Well, I think CBS ended up having to pay it for everybody because it was network programming. So I think that's what they ended up doing. I'd have to go back and look, but a lot of things changed with rules and delays, and because they clearly weren't on delay.
No,
so
not at all.
A lot of that changed after that. So the quote unquote wardrobe malfunction. So that's interesting. Seahawks hire Mike Macdonald to be their new head coach, and so now only one job is open. That is the Washington Commanders. The Ravens defensive coordinator going to Seattle. He was one of the names that had been mentioned to get a job, and ultimately he does. The offensive guys outside of Brian Callahan, are all staying put. But I'm curious of what Washington does now. Do they go established, or do they go, up and comer like Seattle did? I really thought that Dan Quinn or Mike Vrabel would get the Seattle job, and it turned out to be wrong.
Well, it's not done yet. I'm not sorry. I'm about the Washington job. There's still got a chance.
Seattle
to get their thing. But McDonald, he's been with the Ravens He left for a year to go be a coordinator in Michigan, but that's a good hire. So this whole youth kind of wave that's coming through in the National Football League with guys that have learned at the feet of some of the best coaches around, Super Bowl coaches. You got to think. He's learned so much from being around John Harbaugh. They've had winning seasons left and right, and he went to Georgia. So there's a lot there that he knows. So he's got the lineage and the knowledge and well-respected. People like that's a slam dunk hire. So, again, defensive coach, and you got to go out and hire good people on the offensive side of the football and get it going. But, Baltimore now, but it happens. These good teams, they lose coaches left and right. Wilson's coming here, McDonald's going out that way. So it's just the nature of the business. And now Seattle should be pleased that they got a great coach. And now the shift turns to Washington and what they're going to do, and who knows?
Yeah, I have no idea. And I don't know if they know either. So certainly something to figure out. Speaking of transitioning now, the NHL, the All-Star break is officially here. Predators fall 4-2 last night at Bridgestone Arena, but they'll have 10 days off now to try and regroup. We'll talk to Greg Wyshynski, ESPN, coming up next here on the Chase and Big Joe Show, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game here on this Thursday. And as we do at 9:30 on Thursdays, we chat with ESPN's Greg Wyshynski, presented by ESPN Bet Sportsbook. And Greg, good to have you back in the saddle with us, albeit I know you had a little bit of a break for a very good reason. Congratulations on the newest addition to your family.
Thank you so much. Yeah, she's great. Name's Iris, born a couple weeks ago. Obviously, being a hockey writer, I'm already not sleeping, so that's good. I was able to kind of just get right into baby mode without having to adjust too much of my schedule. I have noticed, though, because my older daughter is 13, so this is a freshie, how much technology has changed from child to child. It's like when you buy a new car and all of a sudden you realize that like some of the fancy features are standardized, like the backup camera. Now they've got, stuff that makes formula and stuff that sanitizes the bottles and the whole thing. So I feel like I'm actually at an advantage now because I'm like a little bit old school in it, and now I can use tech to make this thing better.
Well, that must be helpful. And I laughed at your tweet about training her early to be a Devils fan, but you wouldn't subject her to Jets fandom. So that's already a good decision by you.
Yeah, that's a curse my father bestowed upon me that I still have problems with being a Jets fan. But no, she's got a collection of Devils onesies. I'm sure that since she's like a New York native, that there's a chance she might show up in a Rangers jersey one day to rebel against her dad. But gonna have to deal with that when it comes to it.
So the All-Star break is here, and but the trade season is starting to pick up too. The trade wins were a blow-in yesterday. Elias Lindholm, one of the top players that was on the board, is now off the board as the Canucks acquire him. Pretty big trade for Vancouver, and I think Calgary gets a lot coming back.
Yeah, no, we graded out the trade this morning on ESPN.com, and I actually had Calgary slightly ahead of Vancouver in the return. I mean, I gave them an A. I gave Vancouver an A-. And in terms of Lindholm, he's a real last piece of the puzzle kind of guy for the Canucks. I mean, he does a lot of the things that they've needed help with. Right-handed face-off guy, and he's good at it. You can help on their penalty kill, which is very middle of the road. You can help on their power play. I think he's a straight rental given what their cap situation is next year. But you ask a box that hadn't been checked for Vancouver, and there hadn't been many because they've been real good. I think he checks a lot of them. But Calgary did pretty good for themselves in getting the return. I mean, obviously that first rounder is going to be basically like a high second rounder given how good Vancouver is. But the prospects they got back, I think, have some upside. One of them looks like he might track to hit 100 points in junior hockey this year as a defenseman, which is pretty remarkable. And Kuzmenko is pretty good. I mean, if he can recapture the magic of last season and maybe have a mutually beneficial chemistry relationship with Jonathan Huberdeau, then maybe they can have him as sort of a reclamation project and really come away with this trade with something special.
Predators GM Barry Trotz was on our afternoon show yesterday, and Barry's pretty candid when it comes to things with his hockey team, and was talking about trades and kind of where his team is at, and he's over the last few weeks has said that it hadn't really picked up, but then he said he's been on the phone quite a bit talking to other GMs. Do you think this is the first domino to fall, and now after the All-Star break we're going to see more trades, or do you think that GMs will still be a little timid because of the salary cap and kind of waiting for it to expand in the offseason?
So there's two ways to look at that. First of all, it should rip the Band-Aid off because there were certainly teams that were in on Lindholm that will turn their attention to, say, Sean Monahan from Montreal and maybe a couple of other places, and try to jump on those trades early before those guys come off the board too. So I do think that the Lindholm domino falling is an important one to really kind of get the trade market going. But trade market, you look at these trade boards that we're all putting together, all of us who track these things, and it's not exactly a bunch of all-star players available at this trade deadline. I'm not sure how much real action we're going to see. I mean, obviously there's some really interesting defensemen like Chris Tanev from Calgary and a few others that are there. But as far as like help up front and players in that Lindholm class, there aren't a lot. So I'm intrigued to see how much action we do get for teams that are looking for help up front. But not surprised to hear Barry say that. Obviously the Preds kind of are exhausted. They're like that runner at the end of a marathon, sucking wind through the finish line as we get to the All-Star break with how they played recently. So not a surprise he might be looking to shake things up.
We're talking to Greg Wyshynski from ESPN. A little NHL with him.
Greg, the All-Star game this weekend, a lot of people like, the All-Star game, nobody cares. I mean, is it still relevant? I watch it. It's a lot of fun. I don't know where all this hate comes from.
I don't either. And the NHL is famous for kind of getting bored with their format pretty quickly. And so yet again, we have a new one this year. Going back to the fantasy draft format they had several years ago. And the whole vibe this weekend, I actually just got into Toronto about an hour ago. The whole vibe this weekend is to kind of like put it in the hands of the players and let them have the event that they want to have. So, Connor McDavid of the Edmonton Oilers was consulted on how to redo the skills competition. He's not a guy that was necessarily a big fan of some of the goofier stuff that they were doing, like the dunk tanks last year in Florida. He wanted to kind of bring it back to hockey skills. So we'll see what that does to kind of engage the players better. And then, the players are going to be in the spotlight on this draft that they're doing tonight and at the game on Saturday, where you have two players from certain teams co-captaining their squads and selecting their teammates or not selecting them to add a little bit of drama. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens. I always like when they have a new format, and if nothing else, it's going to put a fresh coat of paint on this thing.
Yeah, that was my question. I know you're a hockey writer, but you're first and foremost, you're a hockey fan. What excites you about seeing the All-Star weekend, everything that goes along with it?
That's just it. I mean, like to go back to your previous question, like I've always been a huge All-Star fan. Like I'm a geek for it. I love the skills competition. I like the skills competition more than the All-Star game, to be honest with you, because the All-Star game, even with the 3-on-3, to make it a little bit more competitive, so these guys can't hide in the corner hungover like they used to in the 5-on-5, because it definitely happened more than a few times in the old format. It's still a facsimile of what you see during the regular season and overtime. It's not really, lightning paced or anything like that. But the skills competition, there's no hiding. Like you either have a hard shot or you don't. You can either put the puck through the cones or you can't. And also that's a real loosey-goosey event. I still think about moments that we've had recently where like Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin are sitting next to each other on the boards watching all these youngins do the skills competition and like commenting on it like they're the two old guys from the Muppet Show. Like it's great. Like those little moments are the things that you love when you see these guys out of their element, and the skills competition in particular, I think, really lends itself to that.
I know a lot of the guys like to bring it back home to the Nashville Predators. You had said you'd pick them to make the postseason, so I guess you're not shocked where they're sitting right now as they head into the All-Star break.
I'm not talking to a GM the other day about the Western Conference, and the big story there obviously is the fact that the LA Kings, despite the recent success, unfortunately for Nashville, have come back to the pack a little bit. And I had a GM tell me that it's changed the math for a lot of these teams at the trade deadline, because they didn't expect there to be 2 wild card spots open. They expected there to be 1 wild. Now all of a sudden, instead of 1 spot, they're jockeying maybe for 2, with the concession that the Central Division top 3 is probably out of reach. So for them, for Seattle, for the Blues, for everybody else that's kind of on the bubble right now, it's certainly going to be a really interesting last couple months.
Talking to Greg Wyshynski from ESPN, and I mentioned Barry Trotz yesterday. He was asked about UC Saros and if he would, deal him if the right offer came along. He said he's not necessarily available, but he is listening, and he would have to be blown away, which was kind of his stance last year. What would be the price in your mind for the Predators to part with their starting goaltender, knowing that?
I mean, especially with Connor Hellebuyck re-signing in Winnipeg, he was the guy that a lot of people said, my goodness, if he was available, what would happen? You still might have John Gibson in Anaheim, who could be a long-term solution for somebody, but I like Saros a hell of a lot more than I like Gibson. So, it's not only simply just like his age and everything else. It's that the market is so limited for the kind of goalie that he is. So the reasons why it hasn't happened yet is he knows what the asking price is. He knows what he could get back, and he knows that there are going to be some teams, their goaltending, that subverts them. There's a lot of teams like that out there that might be willing to really overpay when push comes to shove if Saros is indeed available.
Well, it's going to be an interesting few weeks, that is for sure, to see what Trotz and the Predators do. Enjoy Toronto and the All-Star festivities, and we'll talk next week.
I shall. Thanks a lot, boys.
Greg Wyshynski joining us from ESPN, presented by ESPN Bet. Joins us every Thursday at 9:30, and always appreciate that. Cool event that is always in our city that is coming up here very, very soon. We'll tell you more about that, the Father-Son Bowl. We'll do that next. Chasing Big Joe Show, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. For 9 The Fan tonight, Vanderbilt women's basketball takes on Ole Miss at home. Pregame at 6:15, tip-off at 6:30. Coverage also available on the 94.9 The Fan app. Welcome back in. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game here on this Thursday. And JoJo, we got a really cool event coming to the Franklin area, the 18th annual Father and Son Bowl. And to talk more about that, we bring in the commissioner of this great event, Darren Clark, who is on the line with us. Darren, good morning. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning, guys. Great to be here. Thanks.
So 18 of these things that have happened now, 6-on-6 backyard style, family style flag football game with fathers and sons. I know this is a labor of love, but a really cool event that you all have put on, and hard to believe it's been 18 years since the first one.
Yeah, it's crazy. We started out with just 15 guys, and it's just grown every year, and to the point we sell out every year, and it's amazing to see what happens, and it's crazy too because like we got people coming from Missouri, Iowa this year. It's nuts, So, but it's a fun time. That's like Big Joe might appreciate. This is big fun. Is like what we like to talk about. It's like just getting together and having it's family, it's friends, and it's fellowship, and it's football. I mean, and so we're excited. It's looking for like another great year this year on tap.
Yeah, Saturday, February 10th, the day before the big game. For sure. You mentioned that it sells out every year, so people need to go to fathersonbowl.com and register as quickly as they can.
Yeah, we have probably about 100 spots left right now, and we're expecting that to fill up. So, but yeah, there's still space available, so you got to do it soon, though, because there's a lot of people that wait till the last minute, but we're hoping it'll fill up. So, yeah, it's a good time.
Darren, what makes this event so special? Because I see it sells out every year. I see the pictures. I got friends that do this, but in your mind, what makes this event so special?
Well, for me, and my wife, it's really a big labor of love for her. It's the fellowship. Like I said, it's backyard style family football. And so we're loose. We're not really slick and polished. We're informal, and we're rough around the edges at places. But man, we have a great time. There's a lot of joy. There's a lot of love. And that's our mission, is to encourage men to be the loving and strong leaders that they're created to be. And so that's what we're here to do, is to encourage men, and even the young men that are out here playing. So, and it's not even just, the cool thing is that it's not even just, biological fathers and sons. There's uncles that play with their nephews who don't have a dad. There's grandfathers that might play with their grandsons. So there's a whole mix of different types of people who get the heart of the vision and the event, to where it's like, hey, let's step into these gaps where there's gaps, and be a difference, be a positive influence in the lives of young men. And so that's really, I think, where it comes, because when people get that idea and they see kids around them who are maybe in less fortunate situations, and they bring them along to play with their sons, or just play with, sign up and play with them. It's a great thing. There's a lot of love and a lot of joy in the event. So I think that's the key.
I love it. We're talking to Darren Clark, Commissioner of the Father and Son Bowl. Take me through the day's activities, Darren. Like, what time does it start and everything after that?
Oh, man. Well, we're at the crack of dawn setting up and getting going. The first game start probably around 8 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock. And we go all the way right up until sunset. So there's 6 rounds or actually 5 rounds of games, and they go through the whole day. And so people come in, and then they come in, they sign, and they register. And then there's a skill zone that we have where they can go through these timed obstacle courses and stuff like that. We've got a great barbecue that's out being sold, and everything for like food if people want to eat at lunchtime and stuff. So then you got your game. You got the game it's always epic. We have kids that even say like this is their favorite day, even more than Christmas, which is like, and I've had them tell me that to my face, which I'm like, like, really? And, but yeah, it's just such a great time that, this is like an epic day. A lot of the kids think this is the Super Bowl, and this is the Super Bowl for them, but the fact that they're out there with a man that loves them and, takes care of them and looks after them is just like, there's a special bond that, created. That's what we try to encourage. And so great game. And then there's a fun rally we do with a special flyover. There's all sorts of fun baked in for the whole experience. So that's kind of like what the course of the day looks like. And the cool thing too is that what we do on this day on Father and Son Bowl is to help facilitate what we do on the next day called MVP Sunday, which is a special day to where, and then I got to give my wife credit for this because she came up with it 8 years ago. This will be our 8th annual MVP Sunday, to where we invite organizations in the community to bring out their boys who don't have dads, or men that are in young men that are in difficult situations where they're trying to get their lives back on track. Last year we included boys with special needs, which was awesome to have them a part of this last year. And so what we do on Saturday helps to facilitate what we do on Sunday to make it a great day for these kids who are less fortunate. And so, we sell food. The guy who does barbecue sells food to help raise money to pay for the lunch for the kids the next day. All sorts of cool stuff like that. But that's a super special day that we really, really love.
Yeah, for sure. And I was about to bring that up, and I'm glad you got that in there. So both events Going to be awesome. FatherSonBowl.com is the website where you can get more information. Darren, thanks so much for joining us today, and best of luck on February 10th and 11th.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Darren Clark with the Father and Son Bowl, and another really cool event that Cromwell Media has been a part of for a long time. So happy to help and get the word out.
It's a fun. I mean, I see. I got friends that play in it, and it's just they have such a great time. There's a lot of emotions. I mean, there's a lot of good people taking part in this, and it does so great to the community, like Darren just talked about. So I'm honored that we're part of this.
Yeah. Have you and your son, Justin Beasley, played in it before?
We have. We did one in our own backyard. It's
nice.
Nowhere near the Father-Son Bowl. It was like, hey, get daddy this. And so it was good. Hey, I want to bring this up. Tennessee fans are mad about the allegations, right?
Oh, yeah.
But they're also mad at a player. Have you seen?
Okay. Yeah, because I want to get into this because I think this is going to be an interesting little ride for the NCAA with this whole thing, because I think they might have met a match. I'm interested to talk about this coming up next. Also, in the next hour, the Heartbreak Kid, WWE two-time Hall of Famer Shawn Michaels going to join the show to talk about an event coming to Clarksville this weekend. That's all ahead in hour number 2 of the Chase and Big Joe Show, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Chasing Big Joe, hour number 2, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Hope you're having a great Thursday. Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid, coming up at the bottom of the hour. Keep promoting that. You won't want to miss that. NXT Vengeance Day in Clarksville this Sunday at F&M Bank Arena. All right, we talked about this yesterday, and it's a big story in college athletics. Tennessee under investigation by the NCAA. Both the attorney generals of the state of Tennessee and Virginia have filed an antitrust lawsuit against the NCAA and challenged its ban on the use of name, image, and likeness compensation in the recruitment of college athletics, and in response to that investigation of UT. So this thing is going to get interesting, but you had a little nugget that UT fans were mad at one player.
Yeah, so Gerald Mincey, he was at Tennessee for 2 years. He's transferring to Kentucky. And he goes on X yesterday and goes after Tennessee fans and says, hey, I really gave my all to Tennessee. Reading all these negative comments hurt. Love being a volunteer, but business is business. I do love being a Vol again. And then said he can't wait to go back November 2nd and smash them in the mouth. It's been taken down, but there were a lot of Tennessee fans went at him when he left, so he just responded in kind and said, hey, here's what I'm going to do. And it's just so now he's become kind of public enemy when Kentucky shows comes to Neyland Stadium on November the 2nd. But it's just something, man, that fan bases can't leave players alone, right?
No.
Now, I'm not saying both in the right, both in the wrong, but here's a dude that played for you. Now he's going to Kentucky, and you just go at him. And, maybe he's upset a couple people here and there why he played, but it's just this whole, now it's gone next level to social media. So this will be all the talk when Kentucky rolls in the Neyland Stadium in early November. What happens, all that, but it's just, he says, I'm a troll, I guess, until it's spoke in the Courier Journal yesterday. That's childish. If I'm going to say something, I'm going to use my main account. I don't have a burner account. I'm just adding a little fire to the fuel, man.
Yeah, here's my thing. If a player leaves, then guess what? That means they don't want to be there. So just move on. Don't let them live in your head rent-free, because that's exactly what happens. And these fan bases get so obsessed with it. So just move on.
I think he had 1 year left and said he was going to return to Tennessee, and then he got an extra year of eligibility granted for the NCAA for the coronavirus, and then he changed his mind, talked with his family, then he entered the transfer portal and landed at Kentucky. It's just it's always going to social media now, and that's just the way it's going to be from now on and with all these. But and then he says Kentucky's got to do more to earn it. He said, I'm glad. I love the underdog role. So we go the November 2nd to Neyland, and we bust them in the mouth. We can put the standard back over here. And that enraged a large. And that's it.
Well, okay. So
yeah, right.
Do something about it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how it's going to work. How do you think that I was talking to somebody yesterday and a few people about this. I actually think the NCAA might be barking up the wrong tree here, because and here's why I say that. And we talked about this a little bit yesterday. They had an opportunity, the Supreme Court makes their decision and all these things, and so now name, image, and likeness becomes a thing, and obviously recruiting is a part of that. You have all these collectives, and it was the wild, wild west, and everybody was saying it was
right.
Yeah. And he's just the first that, Jim Harbaugh, who is definitely not on the up and up, is getting out and going, probably dodging some punishment, but he's getting out and going to the NFL because you don't have to deal with that there. But the NCAA basically did what they always do, and they sat there and they twiddled their thumbs, and it's like, crap, we got to do something, don't we? Yeah, so you haven't had rules for like 3 or 4 years. Bill, you got something? Okay, yeah, we're gonna rule on this, and you're in violation. And it's just kind of like, okay, of what? And they move the goalposts, they change the rules, and so now Tennessee and Virginia has gotten in. The state of Virginia has gotten in on this, and they're like, no. No, you can't be moving the goalposts on everything because you haven't done anything. That's how I interpret it, at least. And so I think this is going to get pretty ugly for the NCAA.
Well, again, we talked about this yesterday quite a bit. All the shows did, and when the chancellor goes after you, and the president and the governor, there's a lot of like, oh, we're going to fight this because usually, if you're guilty, you're like, oh, okay, well, let's let us appeal this in a little bit.
Yeah, right.
But nobody comes out with that kind of fire and says, here what we're going to do, and here's our battle for this. Load up, here we go, and so. It's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. But again, I mean, it's something else taking focus off what goes on the field. And, I think there's another signing day coming up next Wednesday for more. And it's this whole dynamic has changed. And that's exactly right why Nick Saban doesn't want to be with this anymore, because it is all with 12 teams now in the portal. I mean, we were at the coaching convention. These coaches are on the phone all the time and things are going on. And who supervises? I mean, there's just really no direction right now that goes on. And then, you got to coach a football team come the fall and win football games. And it's just there's so much more now with football, what's going on off the field that's really putting a damper on the on.
Some big bombshell case that happened in regards to recruiting and NIL, and it almost kind of needs to, because of, the NCAA, again, you've heard me say this, I know they have power. They can do the bowl bans and things like that. But if they if they ban Tennessee from the bowls and be like, yeah, you know what, we'll do our own thing. We don't need you anymore. And guess what? They don't.
Boy, that's gonna be a lot of lawyers gonna get rich off
a lot
that.
of lawyers. But like, have we not been gearing up for this?
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I mean, this has been brewing for a long time.
Yeah, it has been. And then, and where it ends and where it goes, I mean, nobody has a clue how this all plays out. And I think that's really turning a lot of people off from enjoying college football. I mean, it really is. I mean, I'm the biggest college football fan around, and it's like, oh God, what now? Oh God, what now? I mean, it's just that there's going to be rules of guys. You shouldn't be allowed to bounce around the 4 or 5 schools. And now the argument is, well, coaches can do it. Well, that's coaches.
No.
I get all that, but just maybe you could transfer once and that's it.
Everybody should get one.
Yeah,
I'm fine with one.
Something where, and these coaches you got to take these phone calls.
Yeah,
because you never know.
Well, and the other thing too, and I agree with you that it should be. You get one, and I guess you can get the second if you're in grad school. Is how they look at it, but. That's getting ridiculous. And so, like, I mean, we joked for, there's guys that we've talked about, like, how long has he been in college? Like, Stetson Bennett was at Georgia and transferred back, and it's like he was in college for 12 years, it felt like. I mean, that was – so that stuff I agree. Like, they got to get a hold on that, but – at the end of the day, you say you love college football, and you do. You're one of the biggest college football fans I know.
Mm-hmm.
You watch the games, right?
Yeah.
Has the product really been affected by all of this?
I think a little bit. I think a little bit there, because you got there's the camaraderie. I mean, you build that camaraderie for 2, 3, 4 years with somebody. I think a little bit. I mean, it's still this football team would have been better. I mean, yeah, I think it would have, but I think slightly it has, because you can't keep the camaraderie and the continuity going.
Yeah.
When you got guys leaving left and right. Now, is it
it's hard to build a program. You're right.
Massive paradigm shift? Well, absolutely not. It isn't. But I think in a small way it has. Sure.
I mean, if you look at the man that just left from Boston College, Jeff Hafley, he left to be the new Green Bay Packers DC, and quote here on On3 Sports, he says, college coaching has become a fundraising, NIL, and recruiting your own team and transfer. There is no time to coach football anymore.
Decade. I hope this breaks their back. There's a lot of people that feel that way, Mike, and look, I think there need to be big changes, and they need to be held accountable and actually do their jobs. But to me, what's going to happen is if the NCAA, quote-unquote, falls in some capacity, I don't think it's part of college football that we've all talked about, and you have the Power 4 and what's really the Power 2 break off and do their own thing and have 40-something teams that are in this just elite of elite college football league added to the party. And that's what none of us want to see. Like, I don't want to see, and MTSU already has it tough because, let's say, they recruit, Derek Mason goes out and recruits Joe Dubin and gets him to come to his school, and here comes Alabama, here comes, Florida State, one of these teams, and going to pluck him away. Now, they enjoyed the 1 year, like think about this. You want to play the what if game? Kevin Byard was pretty good, right?
He was really
good. At MTSU. Do you think in today's college football he would have ended his career at MTSU?
Absolutely not. No, there's no way he would have. He would have been gobbled up by somebody else, and somebody had gotten a message to him, hey, how it goes. And, my thing is that, with all this, what if, there was a thing a few years ago, and I'm not saying he did this, but Alontae Taylor at Tennessee had this deal with a cookie company. Like, if I get an interception, everybody gets a free cookie. And my thing was, well, that's great, but what about late in the game when you go to get that interception and you commit pass interference because you're trying to get intercepted by a cookie?
Or you dive after the ball and just completely miss the guy.
Yeah, and you lose the game or get the penalty and goes, what's the part of that?
Right.
I know it's an extreme hypothetical, but at the same time, that could be anything. Hey, if I get a sack, everybody gets a sandwich at whatever sandwich shop, and then you hit the quarterback late and it's a penalty, they drive down, they beat you. There's all these things that could happen like this. And again, I know it's an extreme hypothetical, but
not allowed to bet on their own sport. But, you have the old stories of the White Sox scandal and all of that of, guy on the take and throwing the games, and that was the Pete Rose betting on baseball and all of that. Wasn't that kind of the worry there of, you legalize, you make this easier and more accessible, you're going to have guys more tempted to be bought out?
Absolutely. And I get it. I guarantee you it's a concern every single day.
Right, but the genie's out of the bottle. Like, there's nothing you can do about it now.
Every single day. Yep, you're right.
So, breaking news out of the National Football League. We talked earlier that there was one team that still needed a head coach. That is no longer the case. The Washington Commanders.
No, don't tell us. Don't tell us. After the break.
Okay. I was going to.
Yeah, good.
I know how to do this.
Good.
Thank you.
Good.
I know how to tease. They have their man. We'll tell you who it is. Coming up next, Chase and Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Jason, 10 minutes. The Washington Commanders have their man. Dan Quinn will be the new head coach of the Washington Commanders, leaving my Dallas Cowboys, where he's been the defensive coordinator, and now he has to face the Cowboys twice a year with Washington.
Wow. I mean, was he I know it was speculated a lot of different jobs, but he was never like, hey, they got to get this guy in Washington. That's something, which opens up. I mean, if you're Mike Vrabel, would you not be the DC in Dallas? I mean, that's a pretty high.
Okay. So here's why I think that could be intriguing for him if he wanted to do that. It could be a lame position to take that job.
Well, not only that, but, you probably got to think around the league that Vrabel's like, people are like, what happened in Tennessee? Well, there's not his side of the stories out there, right? You're hearing, well, he went in, couldn't get along with the owner, couldn't get along with the GM and all this stuff. Now, Vrabel's got this is a great PR tour for Mike Vrabel to get that Cowboys job. I'm not saying he's going to get it, but if next year you get your pick of whatever job opens up, then you could rewrite what happened in Tennessee. Said, hey, we just had different philosophies, whatever, and a resume, or like, hey, I was DC for the Cowboys and I did this and I did that, and turn it around. If I'm Vrabel, man, I'm
like he's in a win-win situation because he's getting paid by the Titans.
See, I hate hearing that because the guys want to coach.
Fine.
They want to coach
in 5 minutes. Well, he didn't. So why? What does that say?
Yes.
What is the league saying about him?
Exactly.
So I mean, if the league is the league saying, hey, you need to go be a coordinator for a year again, and then you'll get another job, or is the league saying like, hey, maybe you need to disappear for a year and then we'll come back.
Right. No, if it's me, man, let me.
We have a very good defense. You ever heard of Micah Parsons?
I have not. But
he's pretty good.
I think it would be good for him to see what happens, and I don't know. It'd be interesting to see who fills in that job because, look, man, outside the 32, you know what? I mean, probably a coordinator for the Cowboys is probably more important than a couple, 2 or 3 really bad head coaching jobs in the National Football League.
Okay. Just pathetic. That's pretty funny. Let's see, a couple of texts coming through. Wes in Clarksville, does Vrabel lose the rest of his Titans pay if he takes another job? Isn't there an offset?
I know there is in college football.
Well, but if he takes a coordinator job, I don't know. Wes, my answer is I don't know.
Yeah, me neither. You would think so. I mean, that's why I always thought, like, hey, if you coach, why don't Vanderbilt just pay you $10,000 the first year and you're getting $1 million from – you're still getting your $1 million. You're just getting it, a little bit over here and a lot over there. That's what I would do.
Right.
Because that's, when Jones went to Alabama, he was still getting paid. I remember reading something, if I remember this correctly, the $50,000 a year, whatever, offset what he took away from the millions he was making in Tennessee. So I don't know. It's a good point. Good point.
David in Arkansas, where's the national media who are crushing the Titans for firing Vrabel because he'll get a job tomorrow? They said, who's eating crow now? It's like, okay, they made a decision to move on. And again, when the day he got fired, I sat here and but now everybody, it's typical when, a team moves on from a player or a coach. It's like, yep, their whole time here sucked. There was never a good moment. They're absolutely terrible. No, that's not the case. I still think he's a good coach. I don't think he's necessarily a great coach. Maybe he could become a great coach the second time around. I mean, how many times?
It happens all the time. Yeah, that's interesting. Dan Quinn to the Washington Commanders. Interesting.
And I think Dan Quinn could be a prime example. I think Dan Quinn's a damn good coach. I mean, being a Cowboys fan, I hate that he stayed in the division and goes to Washington, but he's got a lot to work with. They're going to have a good draft pick, which is the most in the league. I think the Titans.
It's manipulated so many ways. It's just like, who's got what? Huh? What's going on? What? So. Yeah, you've got to go out and find the right guys, and that's the bottom line. I don't know what you pay him. You got to find the right guy. I know it sounds stupid, but that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. A lot of people are saying that if Vrabel takes a coordinator job, that he doesn't get paid.
Oh, okay.
So
he's not getting a head
I don't
coaching
know.
job now.
But the answer is I don't know.
According to overthecap.com, the Titans are second behind the Commanders with $68 million in cap space for next year.
Okay. Well, see, this has gone from it'll
Right.
change for sure.
The banks haven't come back yet. That's what they're waiting on.
So let me, before we get to Shawn Michaels, let me ask you a what if.
Good question. He's probably chased the best candidate that's out there with head
Over
coaching
Belichick?
with head coaching experience. Say this, but they're all over 70.
Well,
I mean, just
age is but a number.
It is. But when you look right now, I would. That's me.
Joel says, I think it's less about hating on Vrabel from Titans fans and more of a reaction to national media thinking they were a dumpster fire for letting Vrabel go, not trading him. Another chapter in the Titans fans versus national media. That's a fair point.
That's
but
a
again,
great perspective about looking in on this football team from afar is always going to be skewed because it's the Tennessee Titans. It's always going to be that way.
Yeah. Coming up next, WWE NXT Vengeance Day will be at F&M Bank Arena in Clarksville on Sunday. And the man that runs NXT, a two-time Hall of Famer, Big Joe Show, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. All right, friends, you have heard me talk about my new official sports book. It's ESPN Bet. I love ESPN Bet. It's now live in Tennessee. Personalities and shows. And they have these bets, these prop bets that are put on by SVP, different personalities that you can go in through the playoffs. They were a lot of fun. You can just check them out in the app and sign up today. New users who get $100 in bonus bets for making any sportsbook bet within the app. So find all your favorite markets and bets like in-game wagering. You must be 21 years or older and in Tennessee. For problem gambling support, call or text the Red Line 800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details. 6-3 The Game, Chase and Big Joe show. And coming up this weekend, F&M Bank Arena in Clarksville, NXT Vengeance Day, 6:30 at F&M Bank Arena. Really looking forward to this because the road to WrestleMania is on. And a man that I think knows a thing or two about headlining and main eventing WrestleMania, and also is responsible for getting a fifth grader Chase in trouble for doing a crotch chop.
I'm doing great. Yeah, sorry about that. That's all.
Yeah,
that's all I can say. Thank you all very much for having me, though.
I mean, you and Triple H as DX talked about taking over the industry, and you basically have now. How crazy is that?
Well, look, I will say this. All I can say is that I couldn't be more thrilled for what I'm doing. I feel like again thrilled just for what we're doing here in the WWE, and obviously looking forward to coming to Clarksville on the 4th. This Sunday for Vengeance Day. The men and women of NXT are excited and ready to go.
And we'll get to that in the card, but we just had the Royal Rumble this weekend. You obviously won a couple of those back to back. Cody has now joined. There's Braun, others featured in both the men's and women's Rumble. I mean, you're a proud papa. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, that I had to go to that morning, and then all the guys come in for a Royal Rumble meeting, and just sitting there with so many NXT guys and guys that, again, you have you have a hand in, in where they're at. And like you said, then Carmelo and Braun, they're first ones, and just the excitement on their faces, the joy that we feel. And look, I know Hunter, he now feels like that with everybody, right? I mean, now you're looking at 95% of fingerprints are sort of on everybody, and got to tell you, it really is so cool when our young ladies and our young men, having once been somebody who competed in that, and somebody who, when you were younger, that's what you grow up you want to be, and now you're here, those same, it really is. It's a proud moment, and that's exactly, you hit the nail on the head. That's what you feel like. You kind of feel like a dad.
Retired wrestler Reno Riggins. And he told me one time, he said he thinks the toughest job in pro wrestling is finding the next big thing, the next talent. And you could see by all the great talent there. I mean, it's got to be kind of a daunting task, I would think, to find that it person for the next, either male or female, to take to the next level, I would think.
Well, yeah, look, I think, as you say, look, if we were able to just to be able to see it and spot it, heck, we'd go out there and we'd have a gazillion of them, right? I will say this, though. The one thing, this NIL program and reaching out to the college athletes around the globe, I'm telling you, we have really come across, some winners and some studs in the last several years across that ring. And you can see it going to a different level. The guy's got a quickness and a speed at 255. Williams coming out. And again, having just only been on NXT television, and again, which is fantastic. I tell you what, the possibility, Obafemi now, it's hard to not look at that young man and see something special. So you are right that it's tough to find, but they're a lot better. And I think we're throwing our lines in the best lakes now. And I think that's going to help us out a great deal going into the future.
What's it like, though, when you've seen all this young talent come together and the crowd gets into it? I mean, you're coming to Clarksville this weekend, and you would expect there just a great crowd, great atmosphere. That's got to be a great feeling for you watching all this talent get this adoration from the crowd.
It absolutely is. And, look, that's one of the come around like they do for us every now and then. And, obviously Sunday, February 4th is going to be one of those days. But we have a chance to get out and show some new folks what it is we can do. Yeah, they get really excited. Everybody is pumped. They're excited for this weekend. Again, especially so many people coming off of the Rumble. And look, also the idea that, again, their peers are coming off the Rumble. And now so many of our NXT stars were there in the crowd as well. They've seen it. They feel it. I can guarantee you they're going to come to Clarksville and they're going to blow the roof off that place.
Classic, the final match. We'll wrap up. When you see that, and this is the great event that NXT has, and some of the tag teams that come through there,
I mean, does it give you that itch where you want to call up Marty Jannetty and put the Rockers back together, or Triple H or whatever? I mean,
in a different way. Again, I guess that's the thing. I was so fortunate, again, to end it the way that I wanted to end it. So I've been really fortunate, unlike a lot of guys that struggled to walk away. I just didn't. I really was. I was, so fortunate to have been able to accomplish exactly what I did and a lot more. Have a great support system around me from a family standpoint, but then to walk into this place, and I get fulfilled watching them do it. It really is, you mentioned it earlier. It's almost like again, a father looking at his children grow, and again, you're watching, what it is they're going through, and it's just a fantastic feeling when you get to watch them experience. It really is. It's gratifying in a different kind of way, but I got to be honest. At this point in my life, it's the absolute best. And again, it is. It's no different than watching my children who have the good fortune to watch them grow into the people they're becoming. It's just in a different way. And so it really is. It's awesome to see. And like I said, a lot of them are looking forward to doing that this Sunday in Clarksville.
A lot of times, like in football or basketball or whatever, the great players, the Hall of Fame players, they don't always make great coaches. And, I do it the way that I did it. You and Hunter, are Hall of Famers and two of the best that have ever done it. Why has this been such an into maybe its greatest era?
Well, look, first of all, I appreciate the compliment. I'll say this because I came in these doors coaching, but the thing is, I got the opportunity, I guess, to train a little bit. The one thing you can't do, and I think that's one of the things Hunter and I realized early, is that you can't get them. They're not going to be you. You're not going to have that. They're not going to have that same feeling and that same instinct. And look, that's when you begin to try to find good people. And you can do your best to paint them a picture. And that's something that I feel like Hunter and I are pretty decent at doing. And we're also pretty, like a vision for what it is we're looking for. If you can explain that well enough, you can 9 times out of 10 get there. But look, there's always people that, you also have to understand people are going to do it a little differently. And they have to bring their own flavor to it. So look, it's a decent transition. I'd say that I'm better creatively and voicing my creative vision probably better than and a lot of things just came very natural to me that you can't teach to people and you can't make it come natural for them. So you do your best to put them in that situation, each of these men and women, to, one, find it within themselves, not rush it, not put them in a box, and also, I don't know, again, find a way that if it doesn't do the same – but if they don't do it the same way that I did it, they can make it their own and still make it unique. So I don't know. Again, I apologize if I'm not answering the question.
No, it was perfect. It was perfect.
Just trying to. Yeah, look, I'll tell you this: we're not afraid to over-explain and repeat things a lot of times if you have to.
We're talking to the great Shawn Michaels, and so iconic and so wonderful. And it reminds me of my youth and good times. Why is it, I know my reasons for it, but why do you think you guys are still so?
It's because I think they saw the genuineness that in which we were doing it. We were guys that, where it was selling out stadiums like it is now. We were all going to get into it whether you made a lot of money or not. Our generation is the last generation where it was before it had gone worldwide and before it had become global. You just had to love it because you thought it was the coolest thing in the world, just being in that ring and getting bounced around and getting beat up and beating people up. It was just, I don't know, the whole dynamic of it was just something that you had to get out there and want to do. And it didn't, if they paid you, it now became this unbelievable world and this global juggernaut that now allowed you to really have a, pretty amazing life and pretty amazing out there having fun. Again, we were guys having a lot of fun doing what we were doing and couldn't imagine doing anything else with our lives except being in that ring and bouncing each other around.
Well, Shawn, we're really looking forward to having NXT in Clarksville down the road.
Yeah, thank you very much. And look, I know he was your last guest. I want to tell Josh Berry I hope he has a fantastic performance.
A pretty electrifying Grand Marshal that they've announced in The Rock.
Yeah, that's what I hear as well. So looking forward. Well, look, I mean, we're doing it. And again, thank you guys so much. Looking forward to coming to Clarksville, too, this Sunday. And thank you all so much for the time.
Unbelievable. The Heartbreak Kid, Sean Michael. Datas and also celebrity birthdays. It's the Chasing Big Joe Show, Thursday edition, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Hey, friends, Big Joe here. Look, I love hearing from all of you who have used medical house calls and love of your needs. Second, pick your treatment. Answer a few questions. They'll provide you with treatment options, home visit, telehealth, or virtual prescription. Board-certified nurse practitioners and physician's assistants will guide you the entire way. In fact, Chuck McDowell used medicalhousecalls.com. That is medicalhousecalls.com, where the nurse clinic is your home.
Six three The Game. Appreciate Shawn Michaels for joining us. Really cool to have him on to talk about NXT and the WWE and everything that he's been doing. And, you know, as a fan of pro wrestling for a long time, that's one of those bucket list interviews for me, for sure. So awesome to have him on. With that, I know we don't have a lot of time. Let's go ahead and get to celebrity birthdays.
Hey.
I'm going to say 78.
64.
87. Pauly Shore, comedian Pauly Shore.
56.
Oh boy, 55.
Big Boy is 47.
53.
49. Chasers up.
Rhonda is 38.
36.
37. That's a push. Chase, you got to get this one.
Harry Styles, 33.
30.
30 exactly. Dr.
Nice.
Crane does know his boy bands.
That was a guess.
Bluegrass singer Del McCurry, who lives here in Nashville.
72.
63.
85.
Boy.
Good band. I will say Patrick Wilson is 48.
42.
55. Music.
47.
Gosh, 45. Another push.
Oh, wow.
All right, here we go. Last one. TV personality Lauren Conrad was in the hills of Laguna Beach.
48.
38 she is. Chaser wins 3-1. Good job, Chase.
Thank you very much.
You're on a roll lately, man. I'm proud of you.
Oh, yeah, I'm proud of you. Also got a lot of other fun things planned as well.
Dial 988 on the cell phone. Reach out. You're here for a purpose, and our world is a better place because you are here. Know that.
Amen to that. Peace, love, rock and roll. Caroline, Willie, D. Mace, next.